Well, tonight we begin with the debt burden and how it is playing out and playing into the fears and concerns of many Kenyans. Well, the government of Kenya defaulted debt repayment on 3 loans from an international bank in the financial year ended June 2021. Well, this has been revealed by the Auditor General in an audit report on the country's public debt, which now stands at 8.4 trillion shillings. Well, this comes even as the government has recurrently maintained that the country's debt is sustainable and there is no cause for alarm. And we now bring you the details of the damning report from the Office of the Auditor General.
Kenya's public debt has been a subject of intense debate, even as the National Treasury has maintained that even at the present 8.4 trillion shillings and 69% of the country's gross domestic product, or the size of the economy, public debt remains in a safe space.
All standards, I just want to assure you that our debt is highly sustainable. And the proportion of whether foreign to domestic is sound. The proportion of the commercial borrowing, the bilateral, and the multilateral are within the conventional standard.
The vocalized confidence by the state notwithstanding, a new report by the Office of the Auditor General reveals what appears to be a conflicting situation. According to the report, the government has defaulted on debt repayment to the tune of 5.1 billion shillings for the financial year ended 30th June 2021. The loans defaulted on were secured from an international commercial bank for the construction of Aror, Itare and Kimorer dams. According to the Auditor General's report, the government defaulted on paying 790.6 million shillings for Aror Dam, 3.1 billion shillings for Itare Dam, and 1.3 billion for Kimorer Dam. Auditor General Nancy Gathungu says in the case of Itare and Kimorer dams, the government of Kenya defaulted in paying both principal and interest, whereas in the case of Aror, it defaulted only in the payment of interest. Gathungu's report further raises the red flag on the taxpayer bearing the burden of incurring commitment fees for loans which the National Treasury is yet to disburse. The Public Debt Audit report reveals that in the financial year ended 30th June 2021, the taxpayer paid 2 billion shillings as commitment fees for loans that were not drawn down and therefore did not benefit the economy.
You may say that our debts are inflated, but you must also ask, what would be if we did not borrow, what happens? If we did not borrow at that time and you left the economy, would have been in a worse situation than now.
These revelations by the Auditor General come at a time when the National Treasury has proposed through the Finance Bill of 2022 to revise Kenya's debt ceiling from the present 9 trillion shillings to 55% of the country's gross domestic product. The proposal is currently being considered by the National Assembly's Finance and Planning Committee. Dan Mwangi, NTV.